Hi everyone, I'm Amy, the founder of Women of Crypto, and welcome to the first Women of Crypto course. So this course is essentially just going to be about kickstarting your Web3 building journey. This is the first episode, and there is going to be a total of 10 episodes. Um, and I just wanted to preface, I think that the whole point of this course is mainly for us as a team to pass down the lessons that we've learned just from building Women of Crypto, just because, we've seen it from a different perspective than just being an investor. Because I think that you don't learn these kind of lessons until you actually go through them. And this information isn't really readily available. And so I'm kind of seeing this course as something as, if I were to restart this entire process, like what kind of information would I wish that would have been readily available to me when I was building Women of Crypto. So I think that this is definitely like a very good fundamental guide if you are planning on building in this space. Web3 is so new and there's so much opportunity out there for you guys to build and revolutionize this space, because the goal is, to create a better Web2. So yeah. So let's go to the next slide. So I'm again the founder of Women of Crypto, and the topics I'm going to be mainly covering in this entire course is going to be the fundamentals of starting a Web3 project, marketing, community building and security, and the execution of starting a project. Manav, the co-founder, is going to be mainly covering like blockchain, UX, UI design, and other key fundamentals. So, the total topics that we're going to be covering is going to be fundamentals of starting a Web3 project, team building, blockchain development, UX, UI design, marketing, finances, Discord fundamentals, community building, mint day execution, and post mint. Again, there's like a lot of lessons that I've learned, and I think that there's a lot of information that isn't really readily available online. So I really believe that this is like valuable information for you guys. So I would definitely recommend like taking notes throughout this course. And if you guys already know all this information, that's great, and you probably have already gone through this entire process of building in the space. But for those of you guys who are new and have ideas or things that you want to build in this space, and I think this is definitely going to be a helpful course for you guys. So now we're just gonna, again, just like any other business, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like I mentioned earlier, Web3 is so new, and there's gonna be so much more opportunity out there to build and develop beyond, just a PFP collection or a play to earn game. Like, again, they're building even like there's a house for sale that's in the form of an NFT. So there's just so much more like industries to be built within the Web3 space and ideas and creatives to get in and join. So I definitely think that, there's so much opportunity out there that I believe that everybody should take advantage of and build. And again, there's so much space for improvement and creative and revolutionary ideas in this space. And another good thing about starting a project and building in this space is you're going to meet so many like-minded individuals. However, it is going to be like a lot of stress, it's tough on the mental health, to be completely honest with you guys. And it's very time consuming, and it can definitely take a lot of time, and you do have to sacrifice a lot of your time and dedicate your life basically to this. But I think it's definitely worth it, especially if this is something that you're passionate about. And I do find that like a lot of people in Web3 are very passionate about the NFT space. So yes. Okay. So now we're going to go into the reality of being a founder. I'm just talking, from things from my perspective, but also I've talked to many other founders just from being in the space, and I kind of found that like we all had a similar experience, especially for those who have just started like their first project, just like me. Um, Again, it's a lot of stress and a lot of time commitment. It's super important to be super adaptable in the space, just because Web3 is unlike Web2. It's a super, super fast moving like industry. Everything happens really fast, and also like the trends are changing super fast. So it's super important to be very, very adaptable in this space. There's a lot of pressure, and again, like as a founder, if you are doxxed or not, basically like everything falls on you. Everybody's looking at you for however well your project does. So it can definitely be a lot of pressure, regardless of if it's a whole team effort. I think that like you are definitely gonna get criticized for like a lot of the smaller things, which is understandable. And I also realize that like in Web3, people are anonymous most of the time. So I think people can be a little bit more harsh and cruel in this space, just because it is definitely more cutthroat, but it's because people are anonymous. And I think that when you show your face like up front, people can be people aren't don't really show their true colors. So that's just also something to take into account. Again, I also noticed something like the Web3 space is also very new, so there's really no set standard or expectations expected. I think that, like, again, there's when I, for example, like if you look into like the whole situation that happened with Zagabon, the founder of Azuki, I was listening to his like Twitter space, and again, like there weren't a lot of things that I agreed with what he did, like for example, like rug pulling the other projects. But he did make some good points where it was like, it since Web3 is so new, there's no set standard about like what a founder of a project should be or should do, you know? And I did resonate with that, just because for me it's like, what expect like there's so many cultural expectations in this space, but there's no set standard, right? So like words like rug pull are just thrown around so loosely, but at the same time, I personally don't believe that Women of Crypto is a rug pull, because there are like blatant rug pulls. For example, like those projects that literally just close their Discord down, their social media right after they met and run away with the money. Like, yes, I agree, like that's a rug pull, but I don't think that what a lot of people like culturally just throw that like word around would, I don't know, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So basically, just things like that. I just think that like there are certain terms that are like thrown around so loosely, and there's not really like a set expectation or standard in this space, that I think obviously with time it'll be built, and that's how it really works in any kind of industry. And again, as a founder, especially if you are docs, you will lose a lot of your privacy. Like, for Women of Crypto, I Women of Crypto was pretty big, so like people were finding like my parents' phone number, like it was bizarre. And even just on like other scales, like my Instagram, just my like separating my personal life and actually being a founder of Woman of Crypto. Like even if I'm on the beach, like people will be like, oh well, she's at the beach and she's not working. But at the same time, it's like I work every single day, but I'm also still human and I still live my personal life. So it's almost just also, understanding that you're going to be under like the public eye. So it's important that that you have a tough shell and that you're willing to put in the work and work and have like the best ethics as you can, and just be as honest and transparent with everything. So yeah, I hope that made sense for you guys. Again, expectations versus reality. A lot of people who are literally investors in this space, I think, have a lot of expectations of founders and like a team behind a Web3 project. I think that like people turn really really fast in this space, and it's important that you're ready to be adaptable and everything. But again, people expect perfection. And this is just kind of like a meme for me. Like, when I started Women of Crypto and I was building the trailer out, we hired like three different people to build the trailer, just because I want to see which one would be the best. The one that we put in like the most money into was this one, and you guys probably have seen it on our Twitter or like on YouTube. But then we hired somebody because we wanted to go cheaper, just to budget within like our pre-mint budget. And this is the trailer we ended up with, and it was like shocking, to be completely honest with you. Wait, I'm trying to play it. Hold on. Okay, I think I had to go back, but yeah, if you see this was a trailer that we were given pre-mint, and it was shocking because imagine we posted that on Twitter pre-mint, that would have literally been terrible. But yeah, so just again, expectation versus reality. The girl that he tells you not to worry about versus you, just that kind of joke. But yeah, that's what we ended up with as our trailer, which was shocking. But again, yeah, it's going to be a lot of stress, a lot of time commitment. There are going to be times where you don't know what to do because things will get thrown at you like different hurdles. And you will probably feel burnt out at one point, which is completely understandable. And I think that these are the four common things that I found with a lot of the founders that I've talked to, is, a common thing that we've all been through. But again, it is worth it, especially if you're passionate about your project. The most important thing for me is be prepared, stay adaptable. There's so many things, again, like the space moves so fast that can get thrown at you. For example, like a market crash. Women of Crypto is lucky because we like launched during a bull market, but there are projects right now that are launching, and like now we're in like a super super deep bear market, right? And these are things you have to kind of stay adaptable for. FUD, like honestly, I have not seen one project that has not gotten FUD, but that's definitely something to be prepared for. Again, there's so many evolving scams and hacks happening in this space, especially like with crypto, just because there's a lot of money involved, and there's a lot of new scams and hacks that are coming out, especially like on Discord and like with different like QR codes and stuff like that, and trying to get into your wallet, and on social media. So just yeah, so it's important to just think of every single scenario that can happen and have a plan for it. For when we got hacked, we didn't really have a plan just because at that time I didn't really know much about Discord security, and I genuinely didn't think that we were going to get hacked, and we did. But we got really lucky because we had an advisor on our team who was helping us at that time. But there's a lot of things that can happen, and again, like even our website crashing on midday, these are things that I did not expect. But if I just thought of all the scenarios beforehand, I probably would have been more prepared for these kind of things. So yeah, just be prepared, stay adaptable, and just think of these situations ahead of time and already have a plan for them. So now that we've covered the reality of being a founder, let's just go over like the fundamentals. If you do want to start a project, so this is what I call the drawing board. So we don't have to talk about a PFP collection right now, but in general, if you're planning on starting a project, these are the kind of things you have to think about, right? For example, like find the story behind it. Like, what is your reason of starting this project? Is it because, for me, for example, I noticed that there was a big niche and there was a lack of like woman-led projects in the space, and there were no 3D avatar females at that time. And so I wanted to be like the first 3D avatar collection for females that's in the space. um, what is your long-term vision with the project? What niche are you going into? What problem is this solving in the market? So for example, Women of Crypto was solving the fact that there were no 3D avatars for females in the space. How do you want to be perceived in the market? For us, I want it to be perceived as like an empowerment for women, showing that like, there were so many projects out there that were like 3D male avatars, but why is there no representation for women in the space? So that's the reason that we started Women of Crypto. How do you want to present yourself as a founder? For me, when I started Women of Crypto, I wanted to be very transparent and open with the community and show that, like, there are definitely like women in this space and that they should be treated with respect. What's unique about your project? What are your ideal holders? How will your project add value to the Web3 space? And what makes your project different from its competitors? So now that we covered that, we can now go over like the technical questions. So again, it doesn't depend. Like, there's so many different things that you can do with like a project. It doesn't have to be a PFP collection, but what token will you be on? So will you be on Polygon, Solana, etc.? What kind of collection? So are you going to be a PFP collection, play to earn, utility based, alpha group, stuff like that? There's so many different things that you can do with it. There's even projects now that are coming out, like for example, like Nothing, which is building like the new crypto phone. So again, there's unlimited possibilities of ideas that you can come up with. So these are things that you have to think about from the beginning. What will the overall aesthetic be? Like, even if it is a utility based NFT, you still have to think about like the aesthetic of the overall like image that you're gonna have, in general, like presenting yourself. What will your supply be? Obviously, this can change based off like how the market is moving when you're launching your project. What's your story and what's your branding? What's your timeline? So on average, what I've noticed in this space, like projects move really fast. So like they launch within 3 months. But again, it's based on the time commitment. So if you don't have that much time and you're kind of just working on it like on the side, then you probably will need at least 6 months. But if you're willing to commit like all of your time to this, I think that 3 months is very possible, but it's also dependent on like what you're building. Will it be generative art? This is if you're a PFP collection. What's your roadmap and utility? What's your budget for pre-mint? Well, I'll go into that later as well. What's your mint price? What's your name and your tagline? These are just things to think about. I would definitely, like, if I was starting a project, I would definitely write these kind of things down and kind of create like a business plan based off these questions. So let's go into the thing. If you do want to start a 3D collection, I mean, not a 3D collection, sorry, a PFP collection. So are you going to be 3D rendered? Are you going to be generative art? Are you going to be like one of one collections? And how many traits are you going to have? So like Woman of Crypto, for example, had like around 111 traits. We were 3D rendered, and we were also generated. Are you going to be 2D? Are you going to be 3D? What's your trait breakdown? So, for example, when I first started building like the Woman of Crypto traits, I basically had a document, and then I broke down exactly like what those 111 traits were. I broke them down into category, and then for each trait, for example, like brown hair, I had like a photo image of exactly how I wanted that hair to look like. That way I can give it to the 3D artist to render. But yeah, so basically, for trait breakdowns, if you need help with that, you can go on websites like Rarity Sniper, and you can basically look at different projects and it shows you the trait breakdown. But there's things like outfits, hair, skin color, eye color, accessory, body accessories, background, stuff like that. Like, these are all trait breakdowns. And then, of course, it's super important to know your niche and what makes you stand out, because there's projects right now, especially, that are coming out like every single day. Not, it's not like back then where it was not as like common that these bigger projects were coming out, but now we have a ton of projects coming out. So you have to know like what makes you stand out, and you want to have like that competitive edge against other projects. And so for me, I didn't do this from one of crypto, but if I were to restart again, like just from when I'm studying the market right now, just because I do like to stay up to date, I would make a competitor analysis. So what I would do is I would make a list of your competitors in your niche. So you can find these competitors from YouTube, on Twitter. You can go on OpenSea and like look at the rankings, like the top like trending projects right now, and you can find like these competitor projects on there, or on Twitter, like the homepage, like the trending projects. You can see like the competitors. Then I would do a competitor analysis breakdown, and then I would do a UX UI design competition, a competitive breakdown, and then I would also like look at the failed projects in your niches. So I'm going to break down each one for you guys. So for the competitor, for the competitor list, I kind of went into this in the last slide, but you can go on OpenSea, you can go on Twitter, and you guys can go on like YouTube to find these projects. So basically, when you create this competitor breakdown, I would basically make like a document. And what I would do is I would look through each competitor project, right? So, for example, if we take like, I would say diverse the competitor of Woman of Crypto, I would look at their supply, their price, and how do they do during mint. And if they're still pre mint, how are they doing now? Like, is their hype real? Are they growing? Are they gaining like traction in the Web3 space? Then I would look at their roadmap highlights and see like what is like the best thing that stands out on their roadmap? Are they doing something different, or is their roadmap very cookie cutter? What influencers did they work with? So if you guys want to find that, you can go on like their Twitter and see like what influencers they're working with, or if YouTubers are talking about them, I would like list all the influencers that they're working with. What's their strength and weakness? What's their most engaged post on social media? So I would go on their Twitter and their Instagram and find like what posts are doing the best. And this will help you later on when you're building like your marketing plan and your business plan for your own project. And what was their main marketing tactics? So was it like giveaways, or was it other things? I would try to like break down exactly their marketing technique and try to find like what's their best marketing tactic. Then after you do this competitor breakdown, I would then look into their UX UI design. And you don't have to only use about the ones in your niche, but I would just go about the trending projects right now and then look at the UX UI design for that. And look at like what makes their website stand out. Like, for example, you guys know Azuki did really really well because of their UX UI design, and they got a lot of like credibility because of that. So just look at the projects that are doing well and like what their UX UI design is, and then you guys can get some ideas for your own UX UI design, and like think of like different things that you liked about their website. And then after that, I think it's really important that you guys look at projects that failed, and most importantly, why did they fail? That way you can try to learn from their mistakes and try to avoid these kind of things. Um, so the most common thing that I've seen in this space, like why projects fail, as in like not even sell out from the beginning, is either their niche is too saturated. So again, like as the space is moving right now and the time goes by, like it's getting super super competitive. So there's niches that are like super competitive, like the 3D avatar collections were got so competitive that by the time like Women of Crypto sold out, there are a lot of projects that were similar to us that weren't even selling out just because the niche is very saturated. Or there's a FUD, so like the Discord will get like a FUD attack, and then the people will be hesitant to mint. Poor marketing strategy, which is something that I see very commonly. For example, recently Chris Brown launched a collection that literally had like 10,000. I think it was a PFP collection, and this is his first NFT collection. They only sold 300, which is crazy because Chris Brown is like an icon, super super famous singer, and he only sold 300. So I think when I was looking into it, it's a lot of it had to do with poor marketing, and bad execution. So bad execution is another reason that I've seen a lot of projects fail, whether it be like their minting process was really bad and people just were too hesitant to mint, or otherwise their roadmap and branding was just too cookie cutter. They look like all the other projects in the niche. So those are the most common things I've seen projects fail. And reasons why projects do well, from what I've noticed, is either the art stands out, it's different. Like, for example, Goblin's Town, that was a Freeman project, but their art and their website was really, really cool. And their whole entire like branding behind it was something that we haven't seen in the space yet, which is why they did really, really well. Strong marketing and branding, great UX, UI design again, not so cookie cutter roadmap, and they also have strong utility. So whether they thought of a new utility that hasn't been done in the space yet, or their cookie cutter, I mean, and their roadmap is not cookie cutter like other projects. They're solving a problem. They're filling a gap in the Web3 space. So for Women of Crypto, what we were doing was we were filling up, like, we were the one of the first 3D avatar collections for women, right? So that was like a problem that we were solving in the space. We were representing more women and representing them because they were very underrepresented. They didn't have a passionate enough team, but I mean, these are reasons why they fail. But the reasons why projects do well is because they do have a very passionate team. The team is credible. Like, for example, Moonbirds did really well because it had a credible founder, and also just having an authentic, genuine community. So these are the reasons why I've seen projects just do really well. And again, there are many reasons why projects do well, but I think these are like the core reasons. And later in this course, we're going to be going over like each breakdown, marketing, stuff like that, and like just trying to create the best fundamental skills you need to know to build a successful project. And again, I think that I learned a lot of lessons from building Women of Crypto that I definitely think that we can pass down to you guys. And hopefully you guys learn more from this course. This first episode was kind of just like an introduction to building your own project. And hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something. But I think that once we get deeper into the different topics, you guys will learn more. And hopefully this gets you excited to build in this space. So I will see you guys in the next episode.